Start her up.
Okay, we're
Let me know when.
rolling. We're
Okay.
good.
Hello, everybody. This is Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. This is the Town of Ledger, Connecticut Town Council Community Relations Committee regular meeting. Going to have a call to order. Bill Soms,
Present.
Andre, Councilor Ingalls.
Here.
For the record, let's show that. Bear with me for a second. Councilor McGrattan is here. And Roxanne Marr is here, administrative assistant, and Jay Hartling from, is that Jay Hartling from the school? Perfect. Yes, thank you. At this time, is there any citizen comments? I'll ask again, are there any citizen comments? And I'll ask one last time, is there any citizen comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to any informational items. Just as a reminder that we have a meeting on the March 3rd with the social services for the general public. They come and kind of listen to us as we have to do a discussion, but then there'll be an actual workshop at a later date in April. Does any of the counselors have any informational items they'd like to bring up?
Mike, before we start,
Andre, you're kind of muffled.
oh, I am?
Yeah.
I'll have to check that. Let me see if
Try dialing in, Andrew.
can you hear me?
Just
It
barely.
sounds like you're underwater.
What? Thanks.
Want me to give you, I can read you the phone number.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, it's, just give me 1 second. It's, 1-646-588-8656, and then let me know when you're ready and I'll give you the meeting ID. Want me to read it again?
No. No, I think I have it. 1-646-588-86.
No, it's 558. 1-646-558-8656.
Okay.
Okay, the ID is 944-0727-9642.
Pound. Oh my gosh, meeting passcode followed by pound. Okay, wait a minute.
Do you need a passcode now?
542834.
Right.
Oh, it's telling me the passcode is invalid. Can you hear me now, or is it still garbled?
Still garbled.
Oh,
He comes forward, it's not so bad. Come
wait,
close to the screen.
so if I come,
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
this is better?
You go in and out now because it's like you're high then you're low.
never had a problem. I'm so frustrated. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Let me check my Wi-Fi.
Say that again.
I'm checking my Wi-Fi.
Because sometimes you come,
Andre, do you have a second monitor? Do you have
No,
a bigger display?
nope.
No? Okay.
we can try and muscle through it.
It sounds like it's the wrong microphone.
I know, but it was just working for finance so like a half an hour ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the
Are you
setup I have
same
used for the last year. And this is the first time it flipped. Ugh. I'm gonna leave and come back in.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. We'll wait for you. We're here. I can feel for it because I'm sitting here looking at an iPad with another tablet to my left, to my right, and a cell phone that I keep checking also to make sure I don't lose things.
I'm back. Is this any better? No better. Not it. I can
Best try
try.
would be to stop your video. Sometimes if it's starving for bandwidth, that helps.
That's a good idea. Turn the, yep.
Try that.
Is that any better?
A little bit, but not much.
Oh my word. So annoying.
Oh, that's okay.
All I was going to say is that I can't complain to
Not getting it.
Just as you went to
Sorry.
Counselor Ingalls, as soon as you said all I was going to say, the mic cut out on you. There's nothing but dead air now.
I'm going to try to call in again.
Okay.
Do you need the numbers or do you have them?
I have it.
Okay. Because like I usually use my phone for my audio, but I use my computer for the video because this is my laptop from work and there's no microphone on it.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
We can hear that clear.
Yeah, that's weird.
Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just press. Please enter the meeting passcode followed by pound. You are in the meeting now. There are 6 participants in the meeting. This meeting is being recorded. You are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself.
You got to press *6. It says your phone's muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Yeah, but you also have to mute your computer audio and turn the volume way down on the computer.
Okay,
There you go.
That's
Yes.
perfect.
Perfect.
Crystal clear.
so much for a short meeting. Hey, guys, so glad I could waste 9 minutes of everybody's night.
Don't worry about it.
It was worth
So
it.
darn. Oh,
You're
was
worth
it?
it.
Thank you. Now, all I was going to say is that Roxanne reminded me that Mary Beth's last day is tomorrow. She's part of the social services crew. So if there might be somebody else we can invite in addition to Kate Sikorsky for our upcoming informational session.
Thank you.
Oh, my
Now,
word.
Who's Mary Beth's replacement or sort of fill-in?
I don't think there is one yet.
Right.
So the position stays vacant and there's nobody who's like picking up the slack on the backside?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Well, as they say, go to war with the army you got, not the one you want. It's good for her being able to move off because it's a great opportunity for her. It's just, it's a major loss for the town, of course.
Mhm.
She'll be, she'll be missed. She'll be missed. So we'll figure out, see what a replacement comes in. I think it would be unfair for whoever the replacement is to have an expectation that they will be able to do anything besides just attend and make themselves known versus, so they, they're going to need a bit of time to get themselves kind of acclimated to the environment and the new job position, everything like that. So it wouldn't be fair.
Sure. I don't know if there's somebody on the social services board who might be able to pick up some of the responsibility there, or if Kate can just handle it. I don't know.
You know who's intimately familiar is two people, Mary and Linda.
Oh,
There you go.
so,
It's just something to be thinking about.
okay, you have to,
I think between Mary, Kate, and Linda, it should be okay. We should ask them, but that's my opinion.
yep,
Okay.
we'll reach out to them.
The other thing we need to remember to do is to promote that meeting with social media like we did the one with the chief.
Yes, yes. I
Mhm.
figure since that's the beginning of, we're going in, that's the 3rd of March is when we meet with them, but the 4th of April, it's in April that we actually have the meeting with them for the.
Yeah, right,
So,
right. Plenty of time.
okay. Thank you, Councilor Ingalls. Review and approval of the prior minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the prior minutes dated January 20th, 2021?
Councilor
So
Psalms
moved.
moved.
Counselor Ingalls
Councilor Psalms
second.
second. Take your pick.
Any discussion?
No.
Seeing none, Councilor Psalms, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Councilor Ingalls?
Aye.
And Councilor Washington votes aye. Motion approved, no exceptions. Under old business, objectives and goals, we're seeing how we're going to do with that. I think we're on track right now for our goals. As far as continued discussion regarding community workshops and schedule, we have a meeting on the 3rd of March with social services. And in addition to that, we have a meeting scheduled in April. As Councilor Psalms had noted, we need to start kind of putting that out there, publishing it on social media, which I would think would be probably 4 weeks out, 5 weeks out, just to kind of get it out there and kind of beat the bushes quite a bit and then go heavy on the last week before. Any comments by the councilors?
Nope.
Seeing none, any other old business prior to coming before the committee? I don't believe there is. I think that's all the old business.
Mr. Chair, could I make a suggestion?
Yes.
If you weren't already planning to do this, could we move or discuss item 2 first? Since we have the superintendent with us and Mr. Hartling has had a long day, I'm sure.
You're right on the money. I'm looking, I like to, under new business, I like to move item number 2 in place of item number 1. Is there any exception to that?
No.
Nope.
In that case, I don't have to vote on that.
No.
In that
No.
case, we're going to do a discussion to consider drafting a formal position statement to the Board of Education as suggested by the Mashantucket Pequot Tribal Nation Chairman Butler at the Community Relations Committee meeting January 20th, 2021. Mr. Hartling, when we had a discussion came up during the meeting, it was a request by the tribe relative to the Community Relations Committee to put out a formal position and request that and submit it to the town council. What we'd like to know is as far as what's the status of I'm trying to get the name right. I'm going to get it wrong.
Diversity, the subcommittee?
Yes.
The Diversity and Inclusion Subcommittee?
Thank you.
to which you are a liaison?
Yes.
So the board had formally organized that. I should note that the liaison from the Mashantucket Tribal Nation did not attend the last meeting. So, you know, they're still in organizational phase. That's the board's action item from in response to the diversity work that they're pursuing with the strategic plan and overall governance of the district. I should also note that my team, the administrative team, has been working on issues related to equity and diversity since shortly after my arrival. And I did provide a list of I think about 12 bullet items of things that we've been doing over the last 3 years, specifically to deal with what has been longstanding opportunity gaps in our community, and something that I'm very passionate about. And then lastly, the board also has been supportive of Ledyard being one of the, we'll say, founding participants in the teacher residency program, which looks to bring in amazing new educators to our profession who are also people of color. And I have put out several outreach messages to our friends at the Mashantucket Tribal Nation to help us find candidates for that program. That's really one of my large goals is around diversity of our staff. And so I have put forward that request multiple times. Unfortunately, we haven't seen any movement on that yet, but I'll continue to ask. So long answer to a basic question, probably.
I have a question. What do you see as the largest impediment to bringing diversity into the school system, as far as it goes for the teaching staff?
So we have actually had, so Ledyard's just under 5% of our teaching staff is non-white. The majority of districts in the state have 0. Diversity in the teaching profession is a longstanding problem, not unique to Connecticut. It's pervasive throughout the country. The reality is, I believe there are barriers that start with K-12 education all the way through the college system. It's one of the reasons why I support the teacher residency program and looking at alternate pathways for people of color to access. I think there are, again, it's historical barriers. I have several students, very proud of my students from when I was a principal in Baltimore, who went on to be amazing teachers and are currently teaching in Baltimore City. But there are a lot of cultural issues that, when you do go to college, there's a lot of pressure on moving towards higher paying occupations that sometimes distract from, entry level teaching. I think the, reality of, districts not always being the champions of diversity that we should be. It's not surprising that a person of color who may not have had a good K-12 experience wouldn't, jump for joy at going into the very system that may not have served them very well. And so, I mean, these are deep-seated historical challenges. And it's, again, why I was so excited about the teacher residency program and why we really need to have our friends at the Tribal Nation at the table and really help us recruit. I've also, and we have also sent all of our postings to the Tribal Nation to encourage them to spread the word when we have openings. I think we're missing a huge talent pool that we're not recruiting from. I will say our non-certified staff, so everyone besides teachers and administrators, we've had a really great increase in applications, bringing on awesome members of our team. It just hasn't translated to the certified staff as quickly as we'd like it to.
I have another question. I don't know if you'll be able to answer the question, and it's more on demographics. As we try and diversify out the school system, and I'm just relating this back to when I started working at the DOT. Do you know what the percentage of minority candidates that are coming out of the school system? Because if you're only pulling out 4 or 5% out of, say, Eastern or whatever the school system
Right.
is, and you're trying to match into, say, a 10%, it's going to be a struggle because
Right.
the numbers aren't supportive.
Yeah, no, there is a very, and I don't have the exact number, Mr. Washington, for people of color in the teacher pipeline in the Connecticut University system. I will tell you that one of the things we put in place, almost 2 years ago, was a better system to track the data on applicants. It's required by law, and it's something that we've been working to make sure that we're doing, because it gives us good data sets about our applicant pool. But we've also, so yeah, I don't want to go off too much, but to your question, I don't have the exact numbers, but historically it's been abysmally low. And so the number of teachers of color graduating from university systems is nowhere near where it needs to be in order to create a pool. The other thing I'd say is, again, districts have to do a better job of outreaching to those teachers and making sure that they're part of the process. I spent about an hour on the phone with a teacher candidate who grew up in Ledyard, but didn't understand the applicant process. So she was applying for jobs in June that were available that we filled back in March. And so it's that overall systemic breakdowns that exist in the state of Connecticut and, quite frankly, throughout the country that create some of those gaps as well. To your point, there are nowhere near enough teachers of color or people of color graduating from university systems with teaching degrees to enter the profession.
Do you know if they're trying to do anything with, I don't want to call them second career, but you have like people who, you get scientists out of Pfizer's and things of that nature. It's somebody's, they've got the degree, they've got the technical background, they got the educational background, but they just don't have the teaching certificate per se.
Yep. So that's exactly what the teacher residency program that we're part of, that we signed up for this year, that's exactly what it's trying to do. Match caring, loving adults who want to be teachers and helping them get through all the hurdles to certification. So extra coursework, they actually will work in our building for a year with a teacher mentor, get them all geared up so they can fill vacancies come the following year. So that's the whole premise of this. I'm a huge fan of second career teachers, but the process can be a little onerous. And this is another tool to help us diversify our staff. So we, as Ledyard Public Schools, we were early adopters. We signed up for 2 residents next year. And again, that's really my push, is to get, I'd love for those 2 residents to be members of the tribal nation and are local to our community. And so we continue to build that. The other thing I'd say is Ledyard Public Schools, 2 years ago, I brought in a tuition reimbursement program specifically for our paraprofessionals. Again, recognizing that we had a number of paraprofessionals who are people of color, hoping that we could cultivate their interest and service in our system already to joining our teaching force. And I'm proud that some have accessed it, but not enough. I mean, it's a challenge point. We're going to keep pushing towards that. Our HR plan was out way before the state required it, and we're going to continue to work on that. It's something that I believe in very deeply, and that we continue to push for in Ledyard. Unfortunately, I don't think we do a great job helping people understand really all the moves we're making to improve equity in our system and the diversity that goes with that.
Counselor Ingalls?
Superintendent, so you mentioned that we have 2 seats in this residency program, but that doesn't, we don't know that those seats, there's no guarantee that those seats will actually be filled. Like, we have to do the recruiting to fill those seats. Is that correct? This is the first year for this program in Connecticut?
Well, it's the first year, it's the second year for the program in Connecticut. They piloted it up in the Hartford area, and then myself, along with our regional area, Learn, we're all working together to bring this down into southeastern Connecticut. Yes, we have to help recruit these candidates to go through the application process. And I would also be specific, I'm not picking who the final candidates are. They have a selection process that they go through as part of the program. We'll benefit from that. Our goal is to get as many candidates into the pipeline as possible so that we can ensure we're getting amazing people who want to go to the profession. I can tell you, I know Learn is looking for a few residents, Norwich, I believe Waterford. So, we're building a nice cadre of districts, and I was committed to 2 because I believe it's so important that people have somebody that's going through a like experience to hold them together, because it's hard work and it's going to be a hard transition.
Yes. Any other questions for Mr. Hartman?
A little off topic. Oh, go ahead, Andrea.
No, but you go ahead, Bill.
A little off topic in terms of teachers versus students, but we talked early on about the formation of this committee and talking to Mr. Hartling and the school system about More Than Words, which is a program that's been in place for a number of years. I hope it still is. I don't know if it is. I think the sponsor is Mr. Yankee, and it was specifically designed to improve race relations among the students within the school system. So I was hoping maybe we could weave that into part of this discussion with the tribe.
So More Than Words still exists. A lot of their outreach had been to New London and Groton schools. Mr. Yankee is still a champion of More Than Words, is very active with it. I will say that we continue to struggle to get the level of involvement that we need. Sorry, my Alexa was. Oh.
You having technical issues? How rude. We'll wait.
Sorry, my Alexa was going berserker because I have a budget meeting in about 4 minutes. So More Than Words, it still exists. Mr. Yankee had a really great relationship with Tina Minahan, Raul before that, Barbara Crouch. We really struggle in getting tribal student involvement in the program, and we need partners to help us continue to cultivate students who are members of the tribe into the program. We infer who they are. I've been asking for 4 years, hey, give us a list of who the students are so we can actually give you the data that you're requesting. Because right now it's just a guess. We know who lives on tribal land, but that doesn't mean they're a member of the Mashantucket Tribal Nation. So we need that help. Likewise, outreach around community programming, celebrations in our schools. We get referred off to the museum, and the museum, it's a cost center, and so they want to be compensated for it, and I don't necessarily have the funding to do those kind of activities. We were fortunate, Barbara, the previous ed liaison, was able to get us some discounted passes so we could send our students there to the museum. But those are the things, like the partnership. I'm craving the partnership, and a wide open door for any way in which we can get involvement. But I need help. I can't figure this out alone. Neither can the team. So
maybe that can be part of our role, if not the diversity and inclusion committee. But we have a communication with the tribe, so maybe we can ask in another way.
Right. Yeah, and I believe there's a longstanding failure of the system to be good stewards, and so I want to make sure we do that. But there has to be an open door on and figuring out how to do it. I continue to send messages. I sent another one today, asking for help with regards to recruiting and a bunch of other pieces. So we've got a lot of work in play in Ledyard Public Schools with regards to improving our systems work for children, and I'm going to continue to push for it. But the more help we could get and the more competence that our friends at the tribe could provide us, I think we could do a better job of serving. I apologize. I actually have to jump onto the Board of Ed meeting and open that up for the public. So
well, thank you for coming.
To attend this at any point and part of the dialogue.
We appreciate your participation. Take care.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
Bye, Jay. Okay. That being said, we'll go back to the discussion and possible action. Okay. As far as, discussion and consideration of drafting formal position statement to the Board of Education as suggested. I'm not sure exactly how we do that. I'm not sure what that would look like, because it would be something as simple as I would say it's the expectation of the town council that the school board and the school system will do their best to make sure all kids, regardless of race, color, gender, whatever, are given a full and robust education. That being said, to me, that's like restating the obvious. So I'm not sure what purpose that truly serves outside of that feel-good position. I think it's my opinion that the whole premise here is that the expectation is that the school is going to do the best job possible. So what do you guys think about a resolution on that? For a formal, not resolution, but formal statement by the, putting something together for the town council to look at.
So I'm thinking there is probably plenty of documentation in the school strategy document that we could lift a couple of paragraphs from. And I know that the tribe would like us to write a formal position paper. I think it would be appropriate if we asked the school system if they have any strategy documents or policy statements that we could provide back to the tribe. Because if they already have such a thing, for us to say we need a formal position paper that says they should have such a thing, I think it's redundant.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I agree. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Councilor Ingalls.
So I have a couple of thoughts on this, and I spoke with Jay because Crystal Whipple mentioned that they shouldn't have had to withhold impact aid in order to get the data they asked for on the students. And I hear something like that, and I think, well, there's got to be more to the story, right? So I wanted to hear Jay's perspective on what happened there. And as you can imagine, he has a very different perspective on what happened there, and I'll let him unpack that another time. But it just reminded me of a conversation that this committee had early on when we were first formed, and we were wrestling through what is our mission here, what are our goals. And we talked about the reality that often when people have a very real grievance, problem, frustration, they simply don't know who to talk to about it. And we realized that perhaps one of the most important things we could do was make sure people are connected with the right people. So when we hear of an issue, we direct people to the right people. I fear that for this committee to recommend to the council that we make a statement to the Board of Ed directing them what their focus should be is just such a convoluted chain of communication that it actually undermines the goal of this committee and undermines direct communication between the problem solvers. I know the Board of Ed has strategy. You know, they have their strategic plan. I know they're working on diversity and inclusion. So I think it should be our goal to help people talk to the right people. I think we should be encouraging the tribe to move directly toward the superintendent, directly toward the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, and take their grievances to the Board of Education. That's the proper place to voice those concerns. I fear, you know, to Bill's point about what documentation does the board have, I also fear that it would be essentially presumptuous of us to step into that conversation between the tribe and the schools and presume to understand the arguments of both sides and be a help in any reasonable way. Here's the short version. I think we will do more harm than good.
the idea of putting together a document to tell another body on how to run their business when they haven't had a chance to fully vet it, and having been to the diversity inclusion meeting that was a couple weeks ago, they're working on this. It's not like they're doing it in a vacuum. They're working on it. And I think part of that was, you could tell they were working on it when Mrs. Whipple made a comment about the fact when we were talking about getting students from the people from the tribe involved in the educational side, and saying, you know, their students, their tribal members, the kids there may not want to be teachers. You know, they all decide they want they don't want to be whatever, and they don't want to be teachers. That's, to me, that's not a source to go to. I think it's the schools got a very big problem, and it's not they didn't cause the problem. The problem goes back to something that Ms. Hartling mentioned about money. When people are going to school, you're going to college, you look at the cost of education, you look at what the educational paper you get out. Some people may not want to go into teaching because they may be put off a little bit about the early edge of the early compensation you get, and they may not be willing to take that sacrifice in the front end, knowing that they could, you know, they'll get recovery on the back end. That being said, I don't think, my personal opinion is, I don't think the tribe is a place that the school's gonna be able to go to get students relative to teaching. I think they can do something. That's where they're gonna have to go to if they have conflicts within the student body, as you talked about in the More Than Words group. I can see that, but I don't see how we can put something together that's gonna be of any true value when you've got the two groups that are that carry the, I won't say the burden, but that are carrying this thing. If they're already talking to each other, I don't know what we bring to the table. That's the short of it for me. I don't know what we bring to the table. If the school is actively working on it, Mrs. Whipple sits on the diversity inclusion committee. I sit on it. We hear the discussions. We know it's working, or I should say they're working to the goal. It's not going to be a fast goal because people aren't going to like to hear this, but you can't change the color and makeup of your school really quick if the schools aren't producing the bodies to make that happen. You know, because you're going to have to go and steal people from other schools, or go that slow process, which I think the school is working on, which is getting people who are more on a second career type basis, who've decided, you know, I'm done being an accountant, I'm great with math, I'm done being a writer, I'm great with English, I've done doing whatever, and I want to become a teacher now. And now they're coming into the school system. I think that's going to be a quicker fill than going through waiting on the colleges, because the colleges are going to be scrambling to get the numbers up so that you can make the school represent what the student body is. That's not going to happen anytime soon. I hate to be, a downer on that, but that's a reality. So I don't think putting together a statement for the town council is I don't see that. I'm having trouble with that value. I'm done talking. Sorry. I know I was long-winded.
So I'm seeing a very similar path in this discussion to the one we've had with the police department. Number of questions have been asked of the police department about female candidates, and the chief has explained the challenges, just like the superintendent is just explained the challenges. But just by asking the question, and maybe it had nothing to do with it, or maybe it did, but we had the discussion with the chief. He explained the challenges. That helped us to understand. That's information. That's good for people to know.
Yes.
And we communicated that. And then they hired 2 female police officers. Anyway, so I'm not saying that's going to happen with teachers, but I do think it is our role, as Andra said, there's always another side of the story. I do think it's our role to present the other side of the story. I think it's our role to hear what the tribe has said, go back to the schools, say, what are you guys doing? Can you give us some written words? And we send it back to the tribe or communicate it in some other way but share with the tribe what the challenges are that we just heard tonight. That presents the other side of the story. And perhaps we get more cooperation from the tribe in recruiting kids within their community. That's how I see our role. It's just communication. That's all it is.
I
So Bill,
think,
would you propose an informational night, or are you talking about creating a written flow?
I'm looking for a statement from the Board of Ed in writing that the town council would say, yeah, we support what the Board of Ed is doing, and that's it.
oh,
Because if I think that's all the tribe wants, is to know that the town council, in principle, supports diversity in our teacher ranks. And we go back to the board and they tell us what they're doing, and we say, yeah, we support that. Thank you. I think that would put the tribe very much at ease relative to their request. Just my opinion.
that's easy. That's easy enough to do. I would wonder though, is it would be to get that from the board, and then ask somebody from the board when we have one of our meetings with the tribe again, and just have them as a quick thing to say, can you let us all know what you're doing? Because as I go to the diversity and inclusion committee, there's nothing wrong with having somebody from there come back to us on the committee side and say, hey, give us a rundown on what you guys are doing in the background, because there's a lot of things going on in the background, and I don't get to sit the whole meeting because the time it starts, they're about half an hour, and then the town council meeting kicks off. So that might be a thought process of asking somebody who's kind of in the full meat of the diversity and inclusion committee to come to one of our meetings with the Indians.
But I think it's easier than that. From time to time, the town council does make formal resolutions saying that it is in support of a particular idea. We recently considered one for tribal online gaming. We had a position in support of the Great Thicket Wildlife, whatever the heck it was, the rabbit habitat.
Yep.
And it's a position paper is important because it says in writing, this is something the town favors and supports. And by saying it, you take a position. I think that's what they're looking for. But we don't know what the schools are doing. So if we find out, they tell us what they're doing, and we say we support that. It's a single page of paper. Easier than a meeting, easier than a bunch of people, explaining how hard they're working.
I take no exception to that. I can reach out to I'll have Roxanne reach out to the school board on what they're doing for the diversity and inclusion, and just give it kind of a real overview summary of their plan and what their goal is, and then we could take a look at that, and that would be something we could either put forth to the town council for review and ask them to support or not. I think it'll be something we'll ask them to support, because everything I've listened to at the diversity and inclusion meetings so far and what their plan is, they've got a lot of stuff. As Jay Hartling Superintendent Hartling was talking about, they've got a lot of balls in the air on trying to fix this issue that's going to be a really tough nugget to crack.
Yeah.
As much as they're going to try.
I think it's more than just what's the committee doing. I'm Andrea, you know better than I that the school has all kinds of policy documentation. That's really what I'm talking about. If somebody goes through their policy documentation, somebody at the school goes through their policy documents and says, this is what we believe in. This is what we try to do specific to this topic. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Gotcha.
Okay. So I'm comfortable with that approach. I think here's where I'm a little hung up. It was the phrasing, and I'm looking in the agenda, I'm looking at the background information on the attached PDF saying, at the Community Relations Committee, blah, 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 Mashantucket Pequot Tribal Nation Chairman Rodney Butler suggested the council issue a formal position statement to the Board of Education regarding their beliefs, what they thought the education system should stand for, diversity, inclusion, and the like. That's where I'm hung up. It's that feeling that the council has any authority to inform the Board of Education what their focus should be. So does that make sense? And Mike, you hit on it too. Like, I wouldn't expect the Board of Ed to do the converse of that.
Right. I totally agree. I know that's what he asked for. I know that we started out saying we can't do that. We have no authority, and he asked for it anyway. But I do believe that what I'm suggesting would serve the request that he has made.
It would definitely be a
Because-
good, go ahead.
Yeah, if the town council says, here's what the school system is doing and we support it, how could that not fit the bill? How could that not meet this need? So I think the way this is written and the way he said it was more blunt, but I think this approach would be a good way to fill the gap. Because
I agree.
we can't tell the schools what to. We know that, and we said that.
Mm-hmm.
We won't.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that approach, I'm comfortable with the approach that you have recommended.
So we'll do is we'll move forward to see if we can get the school board and through to provide us something on their school strategy document or their policy statement on what they're trying to accomplish, and it should meet all those concerns that the Massachusetts Tribal Nation has, that Councilor Butler had. Does that sound agreeable?
Yep.
Yeah.
By consensus?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. So we will do that by consensus. The other thing was, and moving on to a new item, the resolution. If you had a chance to read it, I'm having trouble with this resolution. I'm having trouble that we need to write a resolution on this. The resolution that's written I think is right to the point, short and nice and easy. But on a personal level, I feel embarrassed of having to put that in writing for the town. Because it makes me think that, well, didn't people just assume that you came to town, you live in the town, you're a resident of the town, they're gonna treat you like everybody else in the town? So
I'm sorry, I'm so frustrated with this because I'm going to say it again. The town was honoring the tribe's request. This would have been a non-issue if, first of all, it got blown out of proportion by one unhappy client who was not denied food, but who was denied access to the Christmas gift program. It is not like droves and droves of people were denied food. That never happened. That we're still talking about this is crazy making to me. I will say it again. The town was honoring the tribe's request.
okay, that being said, I wrote the thing, I don't support the thing, because I'm having a problem having to put this in writing. If the committee wants to put in writing and we want to vote on if this is going to be something we want to do as far as the verbiage and stuff, I'll go along with it, but my heart is not in it. It is not in it, because I think that somebody who comes to the town, if they've got to be told they're entitled to services, you would think it's just understood. It's just understood. I think I know how Councilor Ingalls feels. Councilor Psalms, do you think the value of putting the resolution together? It's a simple resolution. It says, be it resolved that the Ledyard Town Council reaffirms that residents living within the town of Ledyard are entitled to services as provided by the town. It is a very simple statement. And the funny thing is, I did look at other towns and other charters, but I didn't go through looking for resolutions. And I didn't find anything where somebody said, hey, if you lived in the town, you get these services.
No, I'm ready to move on.
Okay,
I've felt this way all along. It's a misunderstanding. Let's get it behind us and let's move on.
done. Withdraw the concept. We're moving on. Thank you.
I
Is there any-
I apologize if that was like too strong.
No,
The thing
no.
is, I
be.
don't want it to come off like we're apologizing or admitting wrong, because that's not what happened. And that's my concern about the resolution.
I don't
We
think
did nothing wrong. In fact, I think they should have stood up and said, you know what, guys, actually they were. They could have squashed this by stepping up and saying, that's actually correct. We did make that request and now we're changing that. That was never said. So for us to issue a resolution, I feel like sends the wrong message. Sorry, Bill just like shut his video off because he's had enough of me. He's probably making faces.
Mike's off, Bill.
Oh, my Lord. That's it.
I couldn't hear.
Oh, so, all right. So I was just talking. Here's what's happening. I keep losing my signal, which is why I dial in. So,
Okay.
yeah, no, I didn't shut off. So, as I said, let's move on. We've
Very
spent
good.
way more time on this than we need to.
Thank you. Is there any other business proper to come before the committee? I do have one thing. What I would like to do is, since right now there's nothing pressing for our next meeting this month, the next big thing we have is in March. Is in March. I was looking to see about canceling our next meeting. If there's anybody takes exception to that. Well, with that, then I'll make a motion that we cancel the next regularly scheduled Community Relations Committee meeting. Accepted that if there's something that comes up that requires an action, which I can't think of, that we can always call as a special meeting if it takes place within 3 or 4 days before that date. I don't see anything happening. Go ahead, Roxanne.
Well, why don't you not make a motion to officially cancel? Why don't we just wait and, the Friday before or Thursday before the February 17th meeting, if there's no business, then we just post a cancellation. Because if you cancel it officially, like you said, then it would have to be a special meeting. So if you don't officially do that, through a motion at this time, we could just cancel it at any time.
I rescind my request. We shall wait. Thank you, Roxanne.
Get a general consensus, if everyone else feels the same, like we don't have anything pressing, let's plan on it. And then, when the time comes, we'll make that final decision.
Do I have consensus?
I move that we cancel the Finance Committee too. Just kidding.
No.
No, that's a good approach.
Excellent. That being said, there's no further, there's no any business, any additional business. I move that we adjourn the meeting without exception.
Second.
Ta-da!
Thank
Agreed.
you.
Yeah,
Good night.
let's do it.
Good night,
Good night,
everybody.
everybody.